8 hours behind us, and you're like 11 hours ahead of me. So I thought that's a hell of a stretch.
Yeah, the time zone thing, it's a mess. And we're live, by the way. We're up and going. But yeah, it's America has been one of the hardest. I had to do a podcast at 6 a.m. once. That was do you know how hard it is to be productive and come up with good questions and try and when you haven't had your morning coffee and you've just woken up and the sun's not even up, and it definitely makes it harder. All right, Andrew, introduce yourself. Let's kick it off right.
Well, hi everyone. My name's Andrew D, and I'm sure there's going to be some interesting questions today. But I work predominantly as a psychic medium, a spirit medium, whatever you want to call that. But I'm finding myself being drawn into all sorts of different areas with that, because there's so many questions out there. And with some of the work I'm doing now, I'm working with a lot of energy healers, people, and then I'm sort of getting into people wanting to talk about conspiracy theories as well, and my thoughts on that. Whoa! So that's where I started off. And the bulk of my work is obviously connecting to the other side, but a lot of people just come and say, "Hey, Andrew, my life's a mess. Can we just talk about this?"
Fix it.
So that's pretty much it.
Yeah, nice. So we had a brief chat earlier. I think it was this week. I don't know. Days are just rolling into one at the moment. So you were in the Army.
Air Force, Air Force for 23 years, yeah.
I reckon let's start there. I'm always big on the past, because I think it does create a bit of an image about what you're about. And so what got you in the military? What was the kicker?
Do you mean for joining, or just
what was it like? Like, I think it'll all tie into like the psychic aspect. Was it like something that you knew you were psychic, and was it something where you kind of felt like you had to, like that was your course, that was your path?
Sure. Okay. I mean, if we just sort of take it back a bit, going back to when I was about 10, my grandfather died, and even then, nobody ever said, "Oh, it's this, it's that." This happens, that happens. Physically, I knew he'd gone, but somewhere, and nobody's ever tried to tell me any different or tried to sell me an idea. But somewhere, I just thought, and people are going to say, "Well, you were 10, you still probably believed in Santa Claus," but I just believed he'd gone somewhere and he was around somehow doing something. No idea what, no idea where. Rolling forward slightly, my mum's brother said to me when I was about 12, he said, "What are you going to do with your life, son? You got to sort yourself out."
Yeah.
I said, "I'm joining the Air Force." He's like, "I beg your pardon?" I said, "I'm joining the Air Force." And my mum's sister married into the Air Force, so I'd always gone to visit them in different air bases around the country, around the world. The idea, loved aircraft, loved airplanes, and the idea of travel appealed to me. So I became an aircraft techie. And, I tried to join when I was 16, and they just said, "We're not recruiting for that trade yet. Come back in 2 years." And one day I just jumped up out of bed way before the 2-year point. And my mum said, "Where are you going? Where are you heading off to?" I said, "I'm going down to town to the careers office. I'm going to see if they're recruiting my trade today." And no idea why. And she said, "Well, they said, wait 2 years, son." I went, yeah. No, I'm going today. And I was stood there at 8:15 a.m. and this big burly sergeant came out and said, "What do you want?" And I said, "I've come to apply for this trade." And he went, "We started recruiting for that today. We got the signal 15 minutes ago." And I was already outside the door. Yeah. So in terms of, connectivity and the universe and everything else, whatever you want to call it, all that universal energy, I'm a great believer in that. Something deep inside me said, "Just get your ass down there today." And I went down, and sort of 23 years later, I left. So, traveled to different places. My last tour was in Iraq. I got commissioned as an officer about 15 years into the journey. Went down the SATCOM route, satellite communications, secure communications, IT, things like that. And saw a few mates killed. So, I came back and went, "Do you know what? I've done my time. I don't want to go to Afghanistan. I think I've done enough. 23 years is for anyone." And started to work for the family. They had a pub and a B&B business. And, I suppose it was an easy way out. It was an easy way out, a transition from one thing to another. But as I came back from Iraq, and I had a little bit of an experience in Iraq, which I can talk about if you want me to. But just before I went to Iraq, I'd always been interested in the spirit world, the afterlife, whatever you want to call it. And one day I was driving past, and I was sat at some traffic lights, and I went, spiritualist church there. Well, I was just totally drawn to it, almost like, do you remember Star Trek with the tractor beam and they,
Yeah, it's like
I just felt totally drawn to it. No idea why. Found out when it was open, went down, and again, it just carried on from there. And I got into it more and more and more, connected with more and more people, and here we are, 12, 14 years later, Josh, having a conversation across 12,000 miles.
That's right. Yeah. Obviously, it'd be something that would be very well accepted in the military, would it? You're like, I see, not see things, but I feel things. Like I think in the military, they're very to the point. It's either there or it isn't. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, and it's not something, and you've got to ask yourself about the synchronicity or the timing of it, because I'll tell you, while I was in Iraq, I was just sat there one morning. We used to get half a day off a week. And I was sat there one morning, sat outside in the desert sun, just outside my billet, outside my bunk, just reading a book. And it was just too hot. It was 45 degrees C. I was like, can't do this.
Yeah.
And, but it was the flies, just flies everywhere. Iraq was just full of flies. And I thought, and I had the book just like this. And I was, I'm done. And as I got up and I moved my chair, and I noticed something in the sand, I went, what's that there? And I've got boots on today, and I kicked this silver thing, and I thought it was a ring pull from, a Coke can. And me being nosy as I am, I picked it up, and it was actually the end of a key ring. So the bit that attaches to your keys with the little chain on. And on the end of it was that clog, that Dutch clog that you can see there. I mean, I'm like in the Iraqi desert, it's 3,000 miles from home.
Yeah.
And just get with the program for a minute. Can you imagine just being surrounded? I just felt like something. The only way I can describe it is like a duvet around me, but just this all-consuming love. And I just felt this real strength, this energy of my grandfather. And people say, well, why when you pick that up? Because it was then you haven't got kids, have you, Josh?
No, not
okay.
Yet.
Any guys who are there who've seen their kids born, right, and they were allowed in, and I remember it with my first son. I was going, okay, guys, cry. Remember this? And I was sat there waiting for him to be born. I was like, okay, I've got this. And I went, comes from nowhere. It's like being hit by a truck. This was a very similar experience. But I found this, I promise you, in the sand, and that's where my grandfather made his presence known to me. And he was actually Dutch. He was from Holland. My mum's got clogs all over the house. My dad's dad is Dutch as well. They happened to meet when they were kids. And my dad had a restaurant called Clogs as well, and there were clogs all over the restaurant. So, clogs in Holland is a big deal in the family.
Yeah.
And I found that in the desert, and I went, well, tell you what, believe it if you don't. It's yours to take away, but I know what happened, and I've kept, I keep this on my desk, the whole time. So, so that was that sort of transition, from that was within the last few weeks of being in Iraq. I came home, joined the family business, and I got more involved with the spiritualist churches, if you like, and then people wanted to see me for my guidance. My guidance. And I then decided, or persuaded my wife, much to her consternation, but 2012, I said, look, people want to see me. I can't do both jobs. Guys, if you're watching this, families and businesses, do not mix, okay? There's things that you would say to your father that you would never say to your boss, and vice versa.
That's right.
And I got sacked on a regular basis.
Every week. Yeah.
Yeah. Don't come in Monday.
Yeah.
Oh, are you coming in?
Yeah. Where are you? Why aren't you here?
Come in. Get down here now. So there was that side of things, but I persuaded my wife in 2012 to sell the house. We moved away, and I said, look, and we're going to make this work, doing this work. I said, I can't be being called back into the family business. Hey, can you pop in Sunday, cover this shift?
Yeah.
I said, it's got to be a clean break. So we lived off the equity for a few years, lived off the savings while I got the business going. And we're just in the process. We've rented ever since, and we're just in the process now. We've got a deposit together. We've got a mortgage in principle, as they say, and we're looking for houses. So, my wife actually said this morning, she said, look where we were like 6, 7 years ago. Like we never had a bean between us because I was just determined to make this work. And, the kids are at university now and, things are coming together and we're able to buy a house again. So for me, it was the right choice. And here we are, 2021.
Yeah, that's wild. That clog in the desert. I would lose my mind if you know what I mean?
Yeah.
If it was something so
Yeah.
close to me and it was just like,
Yeah.
here it
Yeah.
is out of nowhere, I'd be like, I'm done.
I mean,
Whatever this is, I
yeah.
gotta go home.
I
Yeah.
mean, do you know what? If it had been a ring pull, if it had been a can of Coke, if it had been a piece of metal or something, I was like, yeah, okay. But I can promise you, and the fact, and this is what still blows me away, the fact that I put my chair, tell a lie, I was there and I moved the chair because of the flies. I moved the chair from where it was. And that's actually, it was when I was decided to just give up and leave and go back inside because of the heat and the flies and everything else. That's when I kicked it. So I'd moved my chair right over it and so close to the family. And like I said, if it was in Holland and found it in a gutter or something, you're crying out loud. You're in Holland, the clogs everywhere. But Iraqi desert, I'm going to sort of say, I believe it, and that's where I'm at right now.
Man, if you don't read that as a sign, I don't know what would be. You can get struck by lightning. And I think that's the only thing, give me a sign, God, struck by lightning. Then you'd probably, second to that is finding that in the desert. Yeah, that'd be nuts.
And it's interesting as well, Josh, because I never said send me a sign or where am I going or what am I doing or, and I don't know. 6 months previous to going to Iraq, I just started going to spiritualist churches, only really just getting a bit of a taster for it. Went to Iraq, never thought about it, never did anything to get it. And you said your question was, I guess it's not that popular in the military. Whatever you believe about that, and I'll tell you a story later about a great guy if I remember. But the machine just keeps moving. A guy drops dead. The machine just keeps moving. Right. Yeah. Next objective. We need to get the job done, and people can't hang around and even grieve or anything like that. And the crazy thing is, there's an arboretum which is like with a bunch of trees, and there's a military arboretum, and it's where I moved to when I moved away from Liverpool. The arboretum is just down the road. And talk about synchronicity. The mates that died when I was out there, the mates that died in action, like their names are just on walls now in stone. And like I knew them personally, and their names are just up there. But the other crazy thing is where we lived, there was a village 2 miles away. And my wife did her family tree with her cousin. We moved within 2 miles of where my wife had ancestors from like the 1700s. And the town my wife worked in, don't forget, we'd moved 100 miles away from Liverpool to like a village. And she just went, I like that house, let's move there. And she had ancestors from the 1700s. And she had ancestors who were school teachers in Lichfield in the Midlands in the UK. And it was all just seemed to be all sorts of joining up, and my mates were on the wall down there in the Arboretum, which was about, you could cycle there from the house. It was that close. So it's people can say you can always look for connections and synchronicity. And if you want to make it fit, you will make it fit. But I don't go looking for things. If it happens and I go, wow, okay. Well, yeah, I can see that. So, and this must have happened to you as well.
I think it's human nature to find patterns and things. I think you try and get your life from A to B as quick as it can. But then there's these odd, bizarre things that you can't explain. I was very skeptical at the start, very, very skeptical, until I saw a psychic, and then that kind of snapped it in perspective. And then I think once you open your mind to the possibility, I remember chatting to you, and I think if you close mind towards things, you're not going to be able to see it. You know what I mean? And I think that comes across with anything. If you don't want to admit it's real, it's not going to be real. But as soon as you get like a little insight to it, it really opens the doors, and you start to notice these things, like you said, these they're just little happens chance type things where you go, I get it. Like I'm kind of always relate it back to a path. Whenever I sort of feel like lost and I can't really get a sense of myself, something will happen, something really bizarre, like, and then something else would just click straight in. But I think across the board, whether you want to believe in psychics or mediums or whatever, I think everybody believes in everything happens for a reason. And I think
Yeah.
this is just the explained version of that. You know what I mean? Where it's like you
Yeah,
have to sort of open your mind, and I think emotionally you kind of have to open yourself a little bit as well to kind of believe it and want to push forward with it and believe that you are on the right path. And I think that's what that is. So
yeah, and a lot of it is, you know, when you said see a psychic, I mean, upstairs from me in this sort of block, there's a counselling school. They train counsellors, and the lady that did own it for about 30 years, I had a chance meeting with her outside one day, and she's sort of, hello, Andrew, you know, and she's outside. I was like, oh, hi, Anita. She's gone now. She's long gone. She sold the business. Yeah. But she said to me, we teach our counsellors to be intuitive, and we teach them about, she used the word psychism, which I probably wouldn't have used because I've never heard it before. I said, we teach them because even when somebody walks into the room, they pick up on what, without any notes or anything, you know, they just pick up and they go, I know what this is going to be about. Or somebody sits down and something pops into their head. And so we teach them about what you do. She said, because basically we're all in this together. She said, we don't call ourselves psychics, but she said, counselors are most definitely intuitive.
Very much so.
And my son's just about to graduate. He's majoring in psychology. And he said to me the other week, he said, Dad, he said, I've got this assignment to do. What do you know about serialism? I was like, what do you mean? I said, tell me what you mean by serialism, and I'll tell you if I understand what you're talking about. He said, well, there was this soldier in the Second World War, and he predicted what would happen wherever it may be. And he told me the name of the book. It's all in a book. The guy wrote a book about it. And he said he predicted the future, and it came true because he wrote it down, and then it happened. Yeah. He said, but we're studying now, you know, quantum mechanics, quantum physics. You know, the atom it's here, it's not here, it's over there. The behavior of atoms or molecules change when you look at them, so that's your reality. And even in psychology now, the grounded scientists, the medical people, are studying this, you know, not studying what I do, but they're studying the possibilities and looking at it. And even the scientists now are saying, well, look, you know, maybe, you know, what we see, this is our reality now, Josh. But what if I wasn't sat here now? You know, would you be sat there if I wasn't here looking at you and connecting with you? You know, it's like the old saying that, you know, trees in the woods, you know, when they fall, if there's nobody around, do they actually make a noise? Yeah. Is it just because you're there that it's your reality? Yeah. So, you know, yeah, and they're the realms I'm getting into now, is that actually what is the reality of what we're doing.
Yeah, but that's exactly right. And I think once again, it's everyone feels it. There's a little part of you that everybody can sort of relate. And I think the whether you want to believe it or not, you feel it. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. You could be a huge skeptic, and I think it's just you trying to just fight and trying to find logic and grab onto something tangible. Mm-hmm. But you feel it, you know. It's a weird and crazy thing, and I think because you can't explain it, that's because you can't explain it, people do like something tangible, and two, because you can't explain it, people can exploit it. And I think do you find that there's a bunch of bullshitters out there that are just in it to, you know, they might think they're in tune with it and in touch, and they can kind of see it and feel it and mold it. They think that is, but they're just full of shit.
Well, I'm going to say, yeah. I mean, let's be honest about this, but it's like anything, you know, you've got it doesn't matter what walk of life you're in, what business you're in, there's sharks out there. And I always say to people, if they come and see me, you know, I said, look, I'm not going to tell you what you want to hear today. You know, you could even walk away grossly disappointed. I said, because some people come with an idea in their head and go, that's all I want to hear. That's all I want to know about. And like left of field, you know, I say, right, we need to talk about, I never came here today. I wasn't expecting that. I said, well, because I read the energy as well. I said, that's what's going on in your life right now. And that's what we need to talk about. Then we'll talk about the stuff you want to hear about. There's people out there who, I mean, I even saw it at a Mind, Body and Spirit fair. A lady came to see me, and she said, there's a lady over there with tarot cards, and she's reading a book as to what the cards mean. Like, come on.
She's learning as she goes.
Yeah, and this was like in public in front of everyone. It's like, Jesus, and she was taking money off people. It's like, hang on a minute, let's see what this means. Yeah. And I definitely get people. I tell you what, there's one thing people may say they didn't like what I said, or they didn't agree with what I said, but nobody will ever say I bullshitted them,
Yeah.
and or I've just told them what they want to hear. I try to guide people forward, but there are people out there, and I used to work on the psychic telephone lines, psychic TV, radio, and the best ever. There was a friend of mine who's she reads cards. I won't call her a psychic. She reads cards. And she said, back in the early days, she said, we were told to keep people talking on the phone as long as possible, and just keep them chatting about the weather and everything else. And just because all you could hear was ching, 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 ching,
that's
ching.
right.
That has all been heavily sort of mandated by the government now, like guidelines, what you can and can't do, what you can and can't say on those phone lines. But there are still the sharks out there that think there's a quick buck to be made if they say, hey, I'm psychic, I'll tell you your future. And they don't care whether they see somebody again or whether they don't. But, I'm not going to say, hey, I'm well known and everybody knows me, far from it. But I've got to think about my professional reputation, that if give a dog a bad name and it never goes away.
Yeah, that's right. I think hopefully that's what's starting to be bred out a little bit. That it was very rampant back in the day. Like I remember watching documentaries on it. It was on I forgot the name of the guy, but he was meant to be one of those faith healers, and he had a microphone in his ear, and his wife was telling him everything, and they caught him, and you're like, but he kept going afterwards. He kept going for a while.
Yeah. I'm not going to mention any names over here, because if I mention names, then you never know who's watching or listening to this. But there was a lady, very, very, very well-known lady in the UK, right across TV, everything, and whether it was true, I'm only going what I read, but it splashed all over the papers, splashed all over the internet, and people were asked to write a little note about their love. Dear Dad, dear David, Dad, I love you. Love to hear about how you're doing on the other side, and they put the little message in a bowl at the front of the theatre before they go in, and this happened in Dublin, in Ireland. I know it happened in other places, but it was caught on camera in Ireland. And there was a lady sat right at the back of the theatre, and she could hear somebody reading things out. And she realised she was reading the messages from the paper, from the bowl in the theatre. And within seconds, this psychic was repeating what was said behind this lady. And when she turned around, because I think she had it on her phone, she recorded it on her phone.
Yeah.
And this little window got slammed shut. I was like, wow. But she's literally made her millions, but that was probably the biggest scam in this country. And that of course gives everybody else a bad name, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's exactly right. That was going to be like my follow-up thing. Like, how do you find it? Do you obviously you got clients, you're moving forward and stuff, but do you get like a lot of hecklers? You tell people what you do. You're like, hey, I'm Andrew. This is my thing. Do they call you? Do they just immediately call it bullshit, or do they ask for proof, or what is the general the general rebuttal to what you say?
Sure. Okay. Privately, none. Well, actually, there's been one or two occasions. I'll talk about free will in a second, but sort of when you go to a public arena, I've stopped doing the theatre shows now. I used to travel around like social clubs, theatres, things like that, and it was okay, but there was often alcohol involved, because of course the venue wants to make as much money as possible.
Yeah.
And it's like anything, when you start off in the day, you're looking, you think, wow, holds 100 people, $10 a ticket, it's going to be a good night. But then you realize it's not worth the grief, because you've got to advertise it, you've got to make sure you do have bums on seats, you have got to sell all those tickets to make the money. And there was a lot of times when I broke even, there was a lot of times when it was good. You didn't often get hecklers, but it was often people just talking amongst themselves, because there are people who genuinely come to hear from loved ones. There are people who really have a need and really want that comfort. And it's easy to get away with, for some people, generalisms, about, hey, do you know a guy called John, owned a dog, drove a car, died of cancer, that sort of thing. And I try to steer away from that evidence and sort of try and stick to specific things. But there would be people who would deliberately give you a hard time if you asked them. And I remember two particular occasions. Let me just make a note, get my pen,
Yeah,
because
no
I'm going to
worries.
write the word free will down, because that's more to do with private sessions and private readings. But there's one particular lady, and I mean, you must have seen them. You know those little Matchbox cars, or the little cars, the little die-cast metal cars that you can get in the
Yeah,
boxes
yeah.
going back? I don't think they make them anymore. And I said to this lady, I went up to her, and I said, I'm over here on this table, because there was people sat on big round tables. And I said, I've got a man here. I said, I feel like his dad, he collected these little, we call them dinky cars. Dinky was a brand back in the 60s and 70s, but these little cars, Matchbox cars, that sort of thing. But he collected them, and he had them in a collector's case on a wall in the living room. So I said, somebody on that table knows about the cars, knows about dad. And there was a few other things as well. I said, but I need to, that's my opening gambit. I need to, if somebody can relate to if you don't understand the cars, don't put your hand up. Nobody put the hand up. Nobody's, and of course, I was starting to learn by then, but you feel that bead of sweat running down there. There's like a few hundred people with the spotlight on me.
Yeah.
And I was like, come on. Okay, I'm going to leave it there. Right. Let's move on. And I moved on. And it's about energy flow in the room as well, Josh.
Yep.
And the energy, it's like electricity. It always flows to ground. It finds the shortest way to earth. The work I do is energy work. So if there's somebody sat there and they're going to, like this, they're just blocking everything you're doing, and it just bounces back off you. So the energy in the room doesn't go there. Okay, so the skeptics and everybody else who are out to give you a hard time, I let them get on with it. Okay, the people who are open to receive, so to speak, they've only got to say yes or no to what I'm saying. Anyway, this going back to this table, not a response, not a dicky bird, nothing. And this lady come up during the break, said, Andrew, can I speak to you, please? She said, that table you came to, and, the cars and the dad and everything. She said, that was my dad. I said, I beg your pardon?
Why didn't you say anything?
That's it. Well, why didn't you just say, yeah, I understand it, or I don't understand this, but I do understand the cars? Well, I was waiting for you to give a bit more. I said, well, how much more did you want? I said, did you understand what I said? Yeah, but I was hoping you'd say his name was Kevin. I was like, oh, crying out loud. I was like, so that's sort of a little bit of naivety, I suppose. And the other occasion was in a theatre in Lincolnshire in the UK. And I went straight to a lady, and two ladies, in fact, in the same event. And I said to this lady, yada, 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 grandmother, usual suspects, grandmother's here, blah, blah, blah. And she was like, no. And she kept saying no to absolutely everything. But there was 5 of them together, and I'm convinced they egg each other on and cajole each other.
Yeah.
And there's 5 girls all sat together, and she just said no to everything. And I said, tell me you're not a teacher. And she went, I'm not a teacher. Okay. And it just became a Mexican standoff there.
Yeah.
And it was something I shouldn't have fallen into, but I did. Ego, I suppose.
Yeah, that's right.
And I said, okay, grandmother's here. I keep hearing Nora with grandmother. Tell me your grandmother isn't Nora. And she said, my grandmother was Nora. I said, and tell me you didn't train as a teacher. She said, I trained as a teacher, but I don't do it anymore. And
semantics.
And I said, what did she say? I said, all she said is, who's expecting a baby, but not told anybody? And she went, don't know. She come up at the end. She had, I'm 2 weeks pregnant, but nobody knows. Nobody knows. So I left it at that. And she said, I'm really sorry. She said, I'm really sorry, but I just needed that proof. And so some people do come and try and test you, and I don't mind being tested, but I've sort of grown out of that a little bit now. But when you said about the heckling side of things, one-to-ones, no, because people genuinely come for guidance, and I'm doing a lot via Zoom at the moment, but there's 2 sides to that. It gives people access to you, but when people physically come and see me, it gives them a place to get away from where they're at. If it's relationship stuff going on, if they just lost somebody, they just need a private place to come and sit and talk and be away from all the other influences around them. So, some people need to be away from their other half, or be away from the kids or whatever, just so they can have some private time and downtime. And sometimes as well, Josh, that hour they spend with me is, they can't remember the last time they just had an hour to themselves, not on the phone, not being asked something, not being badgered by somebody. And they just went, I feel better just for sitting and just being here and away from everything. So there's lots of healing in just being away from the outside world.
Yeah, the
as
world.
Well.
Yeah. So I can sort of relate with those women. So like I said, I was very skeptical going into mine, and I was very shut off. I gave this lady nothing at all. So it was like I booked in for an hour. And when I was there, it was, so like I said, went in, arms crossed, sat. I didn't do anything. I didn't give her like anything at all. So the reason why I was booked in is my old partner booked me in, and she's like, "You have to go. It'll be great." And and I was like, "I don't want to. I don't want to fucking go." But I did. Yeah. But then just it was weird. It was, I think, about half an hour in, and she gave me a lot, and a lot of that has actually happened. But a lot, it was so far outside of where I was at that point in time that it didn't connect. And then she said something, and like I switched. I was like, holy shit, that's now, and that is present. And as soon as I gave her that, like a whole bunch more came out. So I get where those ladies are coming from. It's like when you go in there, there is some stuff that you don't want to hear. And if they just say, everyone just goes, nah, it's easier than hearing something that is potentially like you know, with me, she was like, your dad's going to get sick. Like, you don't want to hear that. You know what I mean?
No, you don't. No.
But you need to hear it. I think that's the big difference. Like, you need to hear it so you can start to process it and break it down. Mm-hmm. Unlike me, I heard it. Nah, it's not going to happen. And then when it did happen, I was like, fuck, I should have prepared myself, and I should mentally be there. So you can get why some people are super hesitant. It is that you can see something that they can't. But even in terms of, if you lower it down a little bit, a lot of people trouble. You may have found this in the army, in the military rather. People not wanting to talk, and like you said, that hour that those people get to themselves allows them to be open and sort of get that weight off and that world off, and you can just provide a little extra with that. You know, you can give them a little bit more than just like a standard. All right, you're just going to come and hang out and relax, and we'll talk about some stuff. You're like, well, here's this, and they go,
yeah.
So
yeah. And surprisingly, you know, based on what you said, I'm going to say, I reckon 95% of my clients are ladies, because ladies do like to talk. The 5% of blokes that do come to see me, guys that do come to see me, are there just like arms folded, you're getting nothing. You know. But what people don't realize as well, Josh, even if you're not, and I've done it. I mean, I did it one time when I was about 18, 19. Tell them nothing. Yeah. And I was sort of sat there like that. But what people don't realize is it's the voice that we connect to, it's the energy of the voice. So people say, you know, I need to come see you face to face. Well, Zoom works as long as I can hear your voice. But over the telephone, it just allows me to concentrate on the voice and not, you know, when it's visual, you know, you're having to keep people, you know, it's eye contact, it's keeping people engaged, it's making sure that they're okay, you know, within themselves. On the phone, I can just concentrate on what I'm doing. And, you know, I could be sat there butt naked and go, look, it's just the voice I need. I don't need, for example, the clothes I wear, if I'm just at home doing telephone readings, like, it's just like a pair of, you know, tracksuits, you know, bottomed or joggers or whatever, a sweat top. Whereas if I'm coming in and seeing people, I've got to be presentable. I've got to, you know, look like people want to do business with me and that I'm trustworthy, not, you know, a slob that's rocked up, you know. Right. So it's all of that comes into the visual side of working with people, but it's actually only the voice that I need to work with. And as long as I've got the voice, I can connect. But if people just sit there silently, and I've had a few guys who come and see me, you know, they've had a few brushes with the law and they were the tough guys and they weren't telling me nothing. And funny old thing, a few weeks later, a few of their friends came to see me because they told me nothing, just walked away, didn't say a word. And their friends came along to say, I've heard you give good advice. Don't break the law. So
it's pretty simple. You don't need to be a psychic for that one. You just
that's it. I was going to say quickly, you know, I've got a chair in the next office. I sit on the sofa, but that chair is a great level for everybody. Everyone comes in, you know, you look at people in society, MPs, or members of MPs. I've just remembered I'm speaking to an Aussie. So you guys have MPs, the Americans don't. MPs, members of Parliament, you know, royalty, people who, you know, do everyday tasks. I mean, which still makes the world turn. You know, guys who collect the trash each week, you know, in the truck. You know, it still makes the world turn, because if they didn't turn up for work, you know, the world would stop. The guys who fix the roads, but that couch or that chair that people sit in my office, psychiatrists are sat in there, people from all walks of life, doctors, everything. And it's a great leveler. And we've all got very similar issues going on in life, but nobody chooses to admit it. And nobody's willing to say, that was me last year, because, hey, I'm a judge. I don't have problems.
Yeah, that's right.
So it's an incredible leveler, that chair, that we are all very similar. And it's just a shame that we can't be that way in life with each other and admit that, we're only human.
Yeah, I think that's more of what we created. I think like this world, I think social media has like a big impact on this. You need to live a perfect life. I think it was, I remember even like when I was growing up, there's always that, when we're around guests, like everything has to be perfect, spot on, perfect. And it just covers everything, and you're not allowed to mention it or talk about it. And then that creates all types of anxiety, and everybody has it. Like you said, if in the higher up you go, the more expected your life is to be this perfection. Like you said, a judge can't have any problems. He can't have an argument with his wife, or she can't have an argument with her husband. Can't happen. Doesn't exist. They can't have bad children. They're not allowed to. Like that muck up in school or whatever. And that would create a huge dissonance in your brain, because what's expected of you and what is the actual you are two very different things. And there's only so much weight a human can hold before they crack. And that like you said, that applies to everybody. It doesn't matter if you're the Queen of England. You feel it, and everybody feels it. When you were saying with like over the phone, I always found it interesting, like how you guys approach things. It's like you said, there's an energy and you can kind of feel it. Try and explain that. Like, is it something that you can visually see, or is it just like you can just feel it in your core? Like, how is it to you? How is it presented to you? And then how do you translate it, I guess? Or does it just come direct and you can just directly put it out?
I mean, that's very much part of the it's like the way I consider it, Josh, is that it's like you take driving lessons, you learn to pass your test. Okay, you learn to pass your test, and therefore you're legally able to go and drive a car on the roads and get insurance. But I always go back to my driving instructor when I was 17, and I passed my test, and he said, "Okay, son," he said, "I've taught you to pass your test. You now need to go and learn to drive." And it's okay, one thing, having the ability to do psychic readings or pick up on energy, but it's delivery of that as well. You never know who's going to walk in, what they're going to bring into the room with them. And in terms of identifying their energy, the best way I can describe this to somebody, to the sort of uninitiated, is, and I'm putting this out there to the world now, that you must have walked into a room where you could cut the atmosphere with a knife, okay? You've walked in and you go, whoa. And even though nobody said everything and everyone politely chatting, you go, what the hell happened? What just happened here? And it's similar. You just know. Now, through experience, you start up and walk in, somebody walks in and you go, okay, I've got this energy, okay, and there's something and it's like a heavy energy, it's like a block, it's like, and as you become more experienced, like the driving side of things, you understand that, okay, you got this block of energy, but there's good stuff down there, but there's heavy stuff on top. It's down to the heaviness of the weight of the energy. And the other analogy is that you must have been in a room and you've walked in and you've known that there's nobody else in there, and you maybe stood there making yourself busy or doing whatever, just making a coffee, and you go, there's somebody behind me. There's somebody just walked in there. But it's not a ghost. They physically walked into the room. You haven't heard them. You haven't seen them. You haven't spoken to them. But you go, they're behind me. That's what I call a spiritual energy. So I become aware of that spiritual energy, as opposed to the intuition, the physical energy, the incarnate, the soul to soul energy, just connecting with somebody. And you must have known yourself, girlfriends in the past. There's somebody you've met, they've been really attractive, you've chatted to them, you've had a great time, but there's just something missing. And yet somebody else you would not find yourself attracted to. There's just a connection, and you just get on like a house on fire. It's exactly the same some people sit down and go, okay, I've got my work cut out here. I'm going to have to sort of dig deep to connect to them, to get them to trust me, to get them to believe me. And others just sit down and you go, where did the last hour just go? No, and all we've done is laugh.
Yeah.
And they've walked away and gone, I needed that today. Thank you. So the whole energy thing, it's as I said before, walking into a room and just identifying it or somebody's behind you. It's just that taken to a greater level. And through meditation or just through your own awareness, you just, as time goes by, you just become more sensitive to the energies of people around you. But the downside of that is just going out into the public, going into a bar, meeting up with somebody that's, oh, God, I need to step outside for a minute. It's like so heavy in here. So you become more sensitive to everyday energies, whereas some people are so thick-skinned that, what? Oh, is there a problem?
Yeah, that's right.
So it is fine-tuning your own. It's like that dial. It's like that sensitivity dial, cranking it up, cranking it down. And there's days when I go, I need to crank this down because I'm picking up on rubbish that I don't even need to pick up on. There's nothing to do with me. Just stood behind somebody in a store, in a line in a store, and I find myself taking a step back, or I take a loop around the store and come back again when they've moved on. I just get to the back then, because there's just stuff emanating from people that we've all got that human energy field. We all got it. It's just tapping into it. And if people don't believe it, 15, 20 years ago, who would have ever believed mobile phones?
That's
30
exactly
years
right.
ago, mobile phones, it's just an extension of that, really.
Yeah. So, how do you fine tune that? So say if somebody, I guess this podcast is going to relate to a lot of people. When I posted it, there's a bunch of people who commented. And I guess it's because, once again, you can feel it, and most people can, and there's varying levels of it. How did you fine tune yours?
I found that I think some people, okay, I'll say it this way. Some people can kick a soccer ball around and just have a kick around in the park and, pass it to each other and score goals. And there's going to be kids who are, leagues above anybody else, and natural ability, natural footballing brain, as they say. I think it goes for this work. I have trained people to do this work who said they had no ability whatsoever. So they must have had something. Yeah. Other people have carried it on. And I think some people are just natural. And I think for me, there's a degree of natural ability there. But in terms of fine tuning that, sometimes it's just sitting in the quiet. Sometimes it's just even, sometimes just even being sat with your own thoughts as well. Because the reason I mention your own thoughts, because you've got alpha brain waves, which is like that daydreamy state. You've got beta brain waves, which is the stuff that we're using now, just everyday coping with life and functional life skills. You can't exist in the dreamy state, the alpha brainwave state, all day long, and you can't be full on the whole time. Yeah. What a lot of people don't do, Josh, a lot of people are full on the whole time in the beta brainwave state, because the minute something drops into their brain, something from the past, something that scares them, something that needs addressing, something they need to deal with, they occupy themselves, the phone, the TV, whatever, just to distract themselves, or they drink or do drugs just to distract themselves all the time. Sometimes you need to go to that sort of dreamy state, because when things drop in there, it's almost like you can't keep things buried forever. Yeah. I go to that state quite often on my own, that sort of dreamy state, that daydreamy state. Before I came on with you, it's coming up 11 a.m. here in the UK. But I had a coffee, just sat there quietly with my own thoughts, let things come in, let things go out, tap into things. And it's just being conscious and aware of, sometimes I might just think of somebody and go, why is that random guy just popped into my brain? Okay, let's see what happens. And sometimes they get in touch with me. Sometimes, a letter will drop through the door, or I'll get an email and it's to do with something, so I picked up on something somewhere. But in terms of fine tuning that, people say about meditation, that's just sitting with your own thoughts, okay? Because people try and sit and do nothing, or sit and think of nothing. You can't just think of nothing. Yeah. All it is, as the Buddhists say, is it's like a horse and a rider, and the horse the rider moving with the horse, not sort of like this and getting bounced along, in a canter. It's your mind and your body and your spirit moving as one. And that's all I do. And sometimes I sit alone, sometimes I spend time alone, sometimes I'll read, sometimes I'll just listen to some quiet music. And it's just being at peace with yourself and allowing these thoughts to come in. And when you're sat with somebody and you're doing a reading, because you've got that quiet time and that quiet space, you're connecting with them. Whereas if you're in a crazy city centre like London or Sydney or wherever, and being on, do you guys call it the subway, the underground trains? Do you call it the subway, do you? Or
just a train.
Oh, just the train. Okay. In America, it's the subway. In London, it's the underground.
Yeah.
If you sat on an underground in a crowded station or just being jostled with people, there's so much stuff going on. You can't tune into people. So fine tuning it, just spending time alone. And I recommend that everybody does it if you're prepared to deal with the stuff that you've buried. Okay. So it can't stay hidden forever. Okay.
Yeah, that's right. Do you get a lot of people? I remember asking, I had a comedian on, and I think this might be similar in terms of the human aspect. When you tell people,
tell me a joke.
Yeah, you're a comedian. Tell me a joke. Do you get it? Like, what's going to happen to me? What are the winning lotto numbers? Do you get that a lot?
Yeah. A lot of people. Do you know what? I went to just get an eye test this morning. Every 2 years, just an eye test checkup. And she, what do you do for a living? I said, I'm a counsellor. It just that people ask far less questions then. I'm a therapist. Well, I'm a policeman. Okay, nobody asks questions then. Because I know people are interested, but my wife refuses to go out with me in public now. She says, if we meet strangers, do not tell them what you do. Family are okay, because family will just talk to you about family stuff.
Yeah.
Because somebody finds out what I do, and suddenly forgive me guys here, but there's a bunch of women sat around me all wanting me to tell them things, and my wife sat there just on the end somewhere and she said, you haven't spoken to me all night. I said, well, I was busy. So I'm sort of banned. I'm banned from telling people what I do. So people say, tell me the future, tell me this, tell me that. And I don't, as a rule, and it's nothing to do with money, it's nothing to do with anything like that, but I'd end up doing it 24/7. So, I've come into the office today. I'm working from home this afternoon because there's a few other things I need to do at home, but I can jump on a few calls. But as a rule, I don't just walk around willy-nilly telling people stuff, because the friend who I was talking about earlier on, I said she's a reader. She told somebody something at a party one time. She went, can I just tell you this? And this lady said, you had no right to tell me that. I didn't want to know that. So there's boundaries. People have got to respect my boundaries. I've got to respect my boundaries. Yeah. And I've also got to respect their boundaries as well. I was talking to a lady again, generally the other day. She was interested about doing some tuition with me. And she said, if I'm on the bus and people, get talking to people, I give people messages on the bus. People don't want to know messages on the bus,
If I just want to get to where they're going. Yeah.
Yeah. People want to see me or want a message off me. They give me a call, come in, and we've allotted that time to it. So I'm not saying I don't. I do give my time away. I do give free readings to people, or if I do feel that people need support in a way, then I'll say, look, tell you what, just come in and see me and give me a call sometime, and maybe we'll get to the bottom of it. So it's not all about that. I put my energy where I feel my energy needs to go.
Yeah, it'd be difficult. Like I could see why you're telling me, something else. It'd bother me constantly having people going. It's like when I tell people I'm studying psychology, like, what am I thinking? I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. I don't know.
Right You're right about the comedians. Make me laugh. Tell me a joke. Make me laugh.
Tell me a joke. Yeah. It hurts. It hurts every single time. So you just I don't want to talk about it. Like, what do you do? Yeah. And you're like, I sit at home. I'm on the dole. I sit around in my track.
Yeah, I'm on the dole. Yeah, there you go. So.
They turn away so quick. I don't want to talk to that guy. And you're like, see you later. Have a good day. And so in regards to some of the things that you've seen with your clients, is it, do you know how it, like I was saying with the lady I went to, what are some of do you tell them everything? Is it, you get this thing in front of you? Because I hear a lot of people going to psychics and whatnot, and all they get is like ultra positive stuff. And for me, it's like I've only had the one experience where it was predominantly brutal. It was a lot of eye-opening type stuff, and she didn't hold back. But then there was positive stuff in there as well.
Sure.
Do you have to balance that? Is that you get this big picture, and you're like, you kind of pick up on the person, and you're like, this person's not going to be able to handle some of this information now, and you sort of change the way you present that information, or do you just go, here it is?
Yeah, or deliver it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, probably the prime example of that. I was working out in Massachusetts in the States, and there was a lady came to see me, and she sort of, not with the white black hair, but she sort of with her demeanor and her look and sort of the way she was dressed, very, very well dressed. But she sort of reminded me of Cruella de Vil, from the 101
Yeah,
Dalmatians.
yeah,
Uh, Immaculately turned out, very expensive clothes, but very, very sort of everything was black. Her hair was dyed black, everything was black.
yeah,
And she come in to see me, and I was aware of her dad's presence. I said, look, and somebody will say, well, if she was 75, her dad was bound to be dead. But saying that, I had a lady who comes and saw me and went, come to see me, and I said, your mum and dad are still here. She had, my dad's 99 and my mum's 101, and they're both at home.
Yeah.
So,
They're still
never,
here.
ever assume anything. But with this particular lady in America, she sat there. I said, look, I said, dad's here. She said, what does he want? And I said, well, he's making me aware of the chest area, your lungs, your chest, the bronchial, that sort of area. I said, breathing. But also, he said, have you got sorted out? I said, because I said, there's a blackness here that needs to be resolved. And she said, Andrew, I know I've got stage 4 lung cancer. What the hell does my father say about it? So I tried to soften the blow, but just imagine that, because the worst thing you can do is let your own mind get in the way of doing what is this blackness? Could it be cancer? Could it be this? Could it be that? Could it be, you just got to deliver the information you're being given. Blackness, heaviness, dad's drawing me here. But I could have said, do you know you got stage 4 lung cancer?
Yeah.
And it could have been news to her, bang, Now, I've had people where I said, look, I'm really being drawn to this area of the body, health-wise. I pick up on a lot of health stuff in a way, so I don't know why, I just do. But I've been drawn to this area of the body, and I feel like you need to go and see your medical practitioner, go and see a qualified practitioner who would know about this, because I'm not a doctor. I'm not a medical intuitives are trained medical doctors who do the work I do. So they've got the knowledge, the medical knowledge. But I say, look, go and get this sorted out, go and have this looked at, or you need to, a lady, I said, have you just been for some blood work? Have you had bloods done? I said, because I feel like you need a second opinion on your bloods. And she'd had the blood, she wasn't happy, and she'd already asked for a second opinion. So, okay, she knew it, but that was like confirmation that why would I just say that to her? So it is about delivering bad news well, I suppose, or how you deliver it. Whereas a doctor, sadly, a doctor is paid, a damn sight more than me to say to people, here's the good news, here's the bad news, here's this, and this is what we're going to do about it. So I've directed a few people, but like I said, I get psychiatrists come to see me.
Yeah.
Andrew sort my love life out. I get doctors come to see me because they're ordinary people. But, they're just ordinary guys trying to get on with their life, and they've got life decisions to make, just the same as everybody else.
Yeah, that's right. That is very true. It'd be hard delivering news as well. Like you said, doctors kind of comes with the territory. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
One, they get trained for it, and 2, they get paid for it. So I guess there's a bit of there's a bit of something behind it. So it'd be super difficult to tell people bad news, especially that bad. Like, hey, you've got lung cancer. I don't think anybody in any situation is going to be like, that is terrific, thank you, Andrew.
Yeah. And do you know what as well, Josh? I'm going to say, you get people who come to see you and they are in denial. Okay, they'll just say no to everything, or they'll just, And there was a lady that came to see me back in America again, and there was 2 things I said to her. I said, because not everybody that comes through, you've had a good connection with in life.
Yeah.
Not everybody that comes through, it's chocolates and roses from the spirit world. Okay. It's not. Sometimes our relationship with those people who've died before us, who've gone before us, and I'm a trained bereavement counselor as well. And for the charity that I work for, they say, no, Andrew, they're dead. They're dead. I can't say they've just gone to the other side. They popped into the next room. No, they said they're dead because they physically gone, and these people have got to get on with their lives. Whereas as this role, I say, okay, I've got dad here with me. And this one particular lady, she said, get him out of here. Don't want to speak to him, because she'd had an abusive relationship with her father. And then this other guy came through, and it'd been a little bit of a pattern in her life from a relatively young age, whether it was personal relationships or family relationships or whatever, but been a lot of sort of aggravation, putting it nicely. And she said, all I want to know is, will I get the new job, and who scratched my car the other week? I was like, there's a whole raft of stuff here in life that needs addressing. So either you need a professional counselor, you need a professional therapist, or you need some help, because there's stuff here that's never been dealt with. So when you come for a reading, if people are going to come in denial, or that's not me, that's not where I'm from, I don't want to know about this, it's going to weigh us down forever. And that heavy negative energy of past life experiences needs to be processed, because we're all here to learn, we're all here to grow, and we're all here to evolve, and once we've dealt with that, life moves on. But if you don't deal with issues and problems and things that have really dealt you a few blows in life, it's just going to keep hammering you and hammering you and hammering you until it's dealt with, and then life moves forward. So like you said, the whole good news, bad thing, I get people who have got to sort of cushion the blow, and others that just don't want to know. So it's a case of, trying to it's like a minefield, constantly, skipping between the mines and hoping I don't hit one.
Yeah, that's that'd be I think the worst part of it. I think, I don't know, you'd probably adapt to it, I guess. Like I said, I think the lady I went to, she's been doing it for eons. So she was just at the point, she's like, I am just going to tell you what it is. This is,
and some people, by virtue of the fact that people made the appointment, I say, right, it's open season. You sit in that chair, you're going to get both. If you need both barrels, you're going to get both barrels. And you've got to be open to that. And I think people accept that I'm here for a reason. I need to resolve some stuff going on, or I've lost my dad's passed away, and I need to resolve these things, or I can't move on beyond this situation because of what happened between me and my dad, and I've never been able to get it straight in my head or whatever. And, it brings a lot of people a lot of comfort, especially if you bring them the evidence that dad's still around, dad's still fine, give them that proof and that evidence, and they go, okay, I'll sleep a little easier tonight, but it's going to be a while before I get over this.
Yeah. What's your next move? What are you planning? What's in the pipes?
Well, interestingly, I'll tell you this quick story. I bought a brand new laptop. It must have been about 6 weeks ago. Went to log on to my booking schedule, what I use for people to book and see me. I'm in the middle of changing it for certain reasons at the moment, but the system I used, and I turned the laptop on, and I put in my, not the login page, I went to the generic page, logged in, and a totally random page came up. I was like, God, what's this? Who is this? It's not my page. Totally different graphics, totally different appointments that you could make. And it said, share your story. And it was a chance to book in with this guy. And I went, okay, that's not my page. Got rid of that, logged in. And something said, look up this guy, look up this guy.
Yeah.
And I looked him up, and he's a guy a little like yourself, does podcasts with people. He records people's podcasts, interviews them, and puts them out there. And lo and behold, he was a Dutch guy. And somehow I found his page. And, and when I looked at the domain name, the domain name was his name. So why would I log on to this guy I'd never heard of and log on to his, his login page? So I thought, well, okay, got in touch with him. And he said, have you ever thought about doing podcasts, Andrew? I was like, well, yeah. So I've started doing them now. You got in touch with me via Matchmaker. We've recorded a few already, and I've got a few guests coming up. So if you go to my webpage, andrewd.com, you'll see a couple of recorded podcasts on there and the upcoming episode. So that's that. But I'm just trying to take the message out there to the world, Josh. Just say, look, we're all normal, everyday people. Some of us connect in better ways than other ways, and some of us have got intuitive ability to help others and guide them forward. And, you said, whether it's good news or bad news, and some readings are totally upbeat and positive the whole time. Oh, it's going to be amazing.
Yeah.
Well, there are not. There are some potholes along the way, but I just guide people around the potholes and say, you can't go and do, you've got to live your life. You can't just do what I say, because I don't want people to live by what I tell them. I've got my own life to live on. But I did write this down, whether you can see that there.
Yep.
It says free will. I can say to people, here's the tools, here's the advice, here's the guidance, here's where I see it could ending up. It's down to you now. If you choose just to do the opposite totally, it's it's entirely up to you. So podcasts for me, taking the word out there to people, and just generally being available for people, around the world, because we've got Zoom now, we've got the internet, so the world's my oyster.
That's right. Yeah. Are you gonna do any traveling? Was that something you were interested in before and you just sort of fell into it? And are you gonna pick it up again?
Yeah. I mean, I did always travel. Sorry, there's a guy just started drilling downstairs in the basement. So
That's
hopefully
right.
that doesn't come up. That doesn't come through.
Yes.
Was it 2015? A lady was listening to me. I was on Blog Talk Radio at the time, and she said, Andrew D, you've got to come to Massachusetts. And I literally just hopped on a plane. Said to my wife, I'm going to America. And I said to the university, like the spirit world, I said, if I come back broke, I'll never, ever go again. And I came back with like $100 in my pocket. And I went, okay, you won. And the plan, I should have gone, I've cancelled, or I've been allowed to change the flight details for free because of the pandemic. But I should have been back in the States last year. And I'm going to this July, Rhode Island, Connecticut, and Massachusetts. I'm going to be teaching, doing readings, doing some theatre shows there, or in hotels in there, meeting rooms, if you like. So some, they call them gallery reads, but it's to an audience anyway.
Yeah.
So that's this July for a fortnight. And where else? So mainly America.
You coming to Australia? You gonna come down under?
Well, my brother's over in Brisbane.
You say.
But it's funny because my other brother went to visit him last year, 2 Christmases ago, and he was meant to go this Christmas gone, and he just cancelled. He just said, "I just can't do that flight. I just cannot do that flight." He said, and he didn't go because he just couldn't do the flight. He said, "Nah." He said, "It was like 36 hours." He said he was in.
It's a big one.
And when he came back to the UK, he said I was in bits for weeks. So
it is.
So maybe, do you know, I suppose if I get the right idea or the right opportunity comes, I'd love to see Australia, New Zealand as well. If you're going to be in Australia, you might as well jaunt down to New Zealand a couple of hours.
Yeah, that's right.
But if the right opportunity comes, I'd love. There's things I would love to see there, but I'm not just going to go, hey, we're going.
Just pack your bags, jump on a 36-hour flight.
Yeah. And the thing is, it's like going somewhere when you feel it's right, not just going for the hell of it.
Yeah.
And it's interesting. The place I'm going to teach in Connecticut this summer, it's like a spiritual, they call it a spiritual camp. And it was that first time I ever went to Massachusetts. You've heard of the British Legion. Have you got like an Australian Legion, have you? Like for the soldiers? And
we have SAS, I believe.
What's that?
Special Forces.
Oh, no. The British Legion is like an organization for retired soldiers, but it's a charity as well.
I'm sure we have something like it. I'm just not very sure of it. I have an army guy on tomorrow. I'll ask him. I'll find out.
Yeah. But they've got a similar thing in America called like the Elks, and they do like a lot of charity work. And I was in one of their venues doing an event, and there was a lady who saw me in 2015, called me out of the blue to go and teach at their spiritual camp last year, but I had to delay because of COVID. So that's where I'm going to. So she saw me 5 years ago and just said, I know who we can bring in. And I was like, yeah, I'll go. 8 hours on a plane is nothing now, whereas before I'd like 8 hours.
Yeah,
so maybe I'll work up to 36, who knows?
That's right. Do a couple of stops in between, go to Dubai, just plot your way over. Well, hopefully this helps get you over. Hopefully we can drum up some Aussie interest.
Yeah. I'll tell you this quickly. I was doing an event in the UK, and there was I know there's a Rugby World Cup. I can't remember which one it was because I think we played the Aussies, and I think we beat you. But anyway, that's another story. But there was this Aussie lady, and I said you would understand now. Excuse my English version of it, but then I'll tell you the Aussie version. And she said, "Would you understand?" I said, "You would understand that you just couldn't. Your mother was the sort of person that if you stepped on her toes, like now that's a pretty English phrase." Yeah. And she went, "She had long toes, Andrew. She had long toes." I said, "Are we talking the same language here?" She said, "Yeah, stay out of her way."
That's fine.
So I was saying, "Don't step on your mom's toes," and she said, "Yeah, my mom had long toes." So a little bit of translation going on, but we actually had quite a good laugh actually, because her and her husband came to speak to me outside, and we had a beer together. So it was all good stuff. But like I said, if the right opportunity comes along, I'll hop on a few planes maybe.
100%. Let us know. Before we let you go, before I let you go rather, give us something. Give us something that I know I just said, I hate when people do it, but if you can do something, I got a whiteboard right next to me. I'm going to write it up on the whiteboard and it's going to stay there. If you can give us anything.
Anything? Okay.
Give us something. Give us something good.
Okay, right. Listen, let's get into this. I pulled two cards for you. One, interestingly, I'll tell you what. There's the bag. Okay, I cycled in today
Yep.
from home, and the cards were there on the kitchen countertop, and somebody just said, "Take the cards. He's going to ask you a question."
100%.
So I've given that one there. So see the light. Okay, the light is there for you. But also the Page of Pentacles here. That's a little tarot card I'm going to give you there, and that's about. Ideas, finances, opportunities, manifestation, looking for new opportunities. And there's two things I want to give you here. First of all, if I say something honestly to you, will you answer the question?
100%, yeah.
Sure. Okay. Can I say, have you got a child elsewhere? Either you don't see or you're not with the mum anymore?
No. I hope not.
Right. Okay.
But
okay.
I was a bit of a flooze back in the day. But
a bit of a Lothario. Yeah.
Not to my knowledge, no.
Right. Okay. Well, I'll tell you where I'm being taken with this, because sometimes you don't actually have to be with that person. Okay. So, because I'm being taken to a little boy here who I feel is around you, and I feel this could even possibly be a nephew. Okay. Because I'm being taken to a lady, being taken to a little boy, but also I feel like I want to connect with him. And I tell you what, I'm being given by a man from spirit now, is because I feel like I need to cast a line here and cast a rod. And I feel like I want to sit around a pond here, lakes, ponds, the ocean, the sea, whatever you want to call it. And I feel like I would have shared a lot of time with this man from spirit, but also I would have maybe just, I feel like I'm making, you know, when they go fly fishing and they make the flies and then and make the hooks and everything like that, and then a lot of guys make their own. Some of them actually just go and buy them. And I feel like what he's shown me here, if you did actually go with somebody like this, but what he's shown to me here is that you need to spend more time doing something therapeutic for yourself, so that you can spend more time improve. What's the word? Be more aware of yourself and self-improvement. Would you understand that?
Yep. That actually kind of makes sense. I'm piecing it together. Yeah.
Sorry, say that again?
Yeah, like it's there's things firing in my brain. So yeah, it's clicking.
Yeah. Okay. And can I just say, I mean, I don't know how some countries you go to and fishing is like a big deal, and others. I mean, obviously, if you live in the desert, it's not a big deal.
Yeah.
But can I say, is there somebody that you would have spent time with, even if they're still here now, younger and fishing, and it's just quality time that you would have spent with them and spent time alone with them? Would that make sense at all, Josh?
There's a few people that sort of come to mind. Not necessarily, maybe younger, yeah, a little bit younger, but not like lots younger. But there are people that exact situation sort of resonates with.
Sure. And you can relate to that, can you?
Yeah, definitely. I got something very close in mind. That kind of hits all of it. So
yeah, and where I'm being taken here is I feel like I just want to, you know, those boxes you see fishermen sat on, and they keep the sandwiches in there, and they keep the tackle in there, and they keep the maggots in there. I feel like I just want to pack up the truck, drive into the middle, go and find a pond or a lake in the middle of nowhere, and you know, sort things out. Okay.
Yeah, easy. All right, I'm going to write that.
And
I'm going to write it down.
And that goes as well for. Can I just say? All I'll say is, for family, kissing and making up, okay, or resolving it for yourself, okay.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah.
Holy shit! Damn. Right at the end there, Andrew.
Yeah.
That is
okay.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Anyway, thank you so much for your time. That was you've got me right at the end. Holy crap. Oh, that's blown my mind.
Yeah. Okay, mate. Listen, you look after yourself, okay?
Yeah, same to you, Andrew. Thank you so much for chatting. I'll get all this sorted. I'm gonna send it to you. If you got any links, send through your webpage. I'm gonna link it to the to the show, so it'll come up on all the platforms.
Sure.
But
okay.
Such a joy talking to you.
I've got time for a coffee, and I'm teaching in 30 minutes. So listen, look after yourself, mate. Okay, great talking to you, and maybe one day, who knows,
we might see you here. If not, I'll see you. I'll see you over there. I'll make the trip.
Take care now. See you now.
Alrighty, legend. See you later.
Bye-bye.
All right. 1 second, everybody. Let me get this thing working. Come on. That's not it. There he is. That's Andrew. Andrew's a good dude. He's nice. Right at the end with the makeup with your family. What the H? Anyway, thank you everybody for listening. I'll link all of Andrew's stuff in the description. But check him out. He got it. He got that one. Other than that, we now have a subscription on Buy Me a Coffee. Come support the show. Everything that gets put in will be going straight back into the show. Upgrading equipment, just getting better shows going, advertising, stuff like that. Other than that, I'll be back on tomorrow for another show. I've got Wayne coming on. He is ex-military. He has a wild story. Very, very crazy. And I can't wait to talk to him. I also have 2 shows. I got 2 shows tomorrow. I had the boys on, which is going to be equally as wild because we're all idiots. So it'll be fun to listen to. Thank you so much, everyone, for watching, listening, what have you. Have a good one. Yeah.